President Salome Zurabishvili of Georgia is here with me at the Munich Security Conference. As we're recording this, there will also be a debate here about EU enlargement, of the prospects of a country like Georgia that is so strategically important, bordering Russia, joining the EU. What is your key concern that you've taken here?
The key concern is the fact that there is still not the massive support that should be the main solidarity expressed by all the partners, NATO, EU, for Ukraine. Because I think that as a Georgian, I know that the battle that Ukraine is fighting for the rest of Europe is essential. We have seen what happens when country is invaded by Russia. It happened to us 3 times over the last 2 centuries. And when there is not enough support, enough reaction. And Russia, if it's not stopped, continues.
Yes, indeed. Georgia has been warning back then President Saakashvili when in 2008 Russia invaded on Georgian territory that lesson needed to be learned for the rest of Europe. That's a lesson also that Ukraine learned in 2014 when Crimea was occupied by Russia. What responses are you getting here today about the way forward, and how are you observing the reaction of Europe right now to this Russian aggression?
Well, I think that Europe has taken the right decision just a few days, a week ago, by allowing this $50 billion to support Ukraine. And I think that was achieved is a major achievement for the whole of Europe to show that it's determined. The same is expected from the American Congress, and I'm confident that it will finally happen, even if it's time is of the essence here. And the shorter, the sooner it happens, the most important it is. And I think that's what President Zelensky was here to say. It's strategically important because we have, for us, for instance, the Black Sea is central. It is our connection, our vital connection to Europe, but it's also a question for Europe. The security of the Black Sea is the security of Europe. And that's what is at stake with Crimea, with Ukraine, with Georgia, with now the plans of Russia to build a military base on the Black Sea. All of that is what will affect the future plans, structural investments of Europe to go further, to enlarge, and also to be connected to the rest of Central Asia, for instance. That is a very important source of resources. So many things are at stake here.
Which tangible effect are you feeling from the uncertainties created by an aid package being stuck in Congress? At the very least, it will be significantly delayed. We saw the US government actually accuse its own Congress of being responsible for Ukraine having to retreat from one town because of the lack of ammunition right now, and also the uncertainty from Donald Trump, who is a presidential candidate, but who threw doubt on his willingness to fulfill NATO commitments if he were to become president again. Does that change how you engage with Russia and Russia engages with you?
I don't think anything can change in the mutual relationship between Georgia and Russia. The only thing that can change that is Russia withdrawing from all the territories it occupies, be it in Ukraine or be it in Georgia. That is the future of European security, not a country that is next to Europe and that occupies independent countries' territories.
What's your key expectation from the Europeans, from the European Union at this moment in time?
Enlargement, enlargement, and enlargement.
Okay, and but that very question of enlargement is not uncontentious in your own country. In fact, you came to Munich not authorized. You got criticized by the Speaker of your own parliament for even making this trip. So what political battles of this very question of enlargement are you fighting back home?
Well, like any country, there are internal political battles, but what is very important to know outside of Georgia is that this has the full consensus of the Georgian people. And that has been the case for the last 30 years. Since our independence, Georgian people have supported the Georgian way. The Georgian way to Europe, and it has never changed, not when Georgia was occupied, invaded, and it won't change in the future because it's the only perspective really that exists for this country that is located where it is located.
There's no escaping geography, but even countries further away, here in Germany, in Europe, evidence has been found of Russian interference into societies, into communication, into social media. How does that portray itself in Georgia?
Well, we are closer and we are much better known as a people, our character, by the Russian services. So in a way, it's easier for them to interfere in Georgia because it's a known ground for them. At the same time, the Georgian people are also well experienced in Soviet propaganda, which is not very different from the Russian propaganda of today. So maybe their resilience is a bit higher. But we're going to be exposed. We are exposed, and we're going to be more exposed during this year because it's a year for parliamentary elections by October. So I'm sure that we can expect many interference. The hybrid war is going on towards Georgia.
I understand that you also had the opportunity to speak to President Zelensky of Ukraine here in Munich. What notes did you have to compare?
Well, we don't have anything to compare. It's all compared already. I'm there just here to express my support, the solidarity of the Georgian people, which is to be witnessed by anyone that comes to Georgia and sees so many Ukrainian flags all around the walls of Tbilisi. So that's what I have to do here, is to express my solidarity. There is nothing much more that I can do, but I think it's important this time because we are part of the trio, the associated trio now of the candidate countries, and most important, we are, together with Moldova, 3 countries that need Black Sea security together.
Now, the German defense minister wants to get Germany ready within 5 to 8 years because there is a possibility of Russian aggression. He wants to see Germany able to defend itself. I would just like to get your time frame for what do you expect to happen over the next 5 to 8 years? What's the best and the worst outcome you expect?
The best outcome is Russia having to retreat on its own territory, learn that it has borders like any other nation in the world, and respect its neighbors. That means that it releases the occupied territories. And we are becoming member of the European Union. That's the best and the only outcome I can think about.
President Zurabishvili of Georgia, thank you very much for speaking to DW.